States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, friends. Looking for a roll call, please.
You got it. Sheehan.
Here.
Pugh.
Present.
McDonald.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bartleson. Here. Saban. We have a quorum.
All right, I see Pastor Bernarsek's here to open us up.
Dear God, thank you for this beautiful day, above normal temperatures, no snow, and before we know it, the spring flowers will be out. I can truly say it's good to live in Lockport. Thank you for all the businesses we have here, the restaurants. I just ask that you bless them with prosperity and success. And again, I thank you for each council member here and every person who makes this city happen, this great city. I just ask that you just bless them with wisdom and guidance and direction as they lead us. And again, I thank you for our law enforcement and the fire department for how we've enjoyed safety with our personnel. And I ask that you would just bless them as they go on calls, that you would keep a hedge of protection around them. Just ask that you would bless their families and keep them safe. Amen and amen.
Right on. Thank you. All right, liaisons, anybody got anything?
I got something.
All right, lay it on us.
The finance report is digitally posted up on the website. If you go to the website, you can find a link. It'll take you there. The budget has also been presented for, I don't know if anybody remembers, last year they presented our budget and we received an award for the cleanliness and the attention to detail that Lisa and her crew had done. So stop at the website, take a look at it, and you can see where all your efforts have gone to making the city a great place to live. So that's all I got.
I got a little something.
Please.
Restaurant Week is back, February 26th through March 10th. Public Landing, Mama Onesta's, Lock and Mule, Villanova Pizza, 933 Speakeasy, Embers, Taco Patio, Vegan Cafe, Paradise Bay, Nick and Ivy Brewing, Springview Sweets and Bakery, Donut Shop, Cream and Coffee Roasters, Biteable Baked Goods, Rosati's Pizza, Nikki Zeros, and Dairy Queen. Restaurant Week is made possible through the collaborative efforts of City of Lockport, Heritage Corridor, Lockport Chamber of Commerce, and together we're committed to supporting our local restaurants and thriving culinary community. So be sure to mention Restaurant Week when you go to get the specials for that establishment. February 26th through March 10th.
Thank you, Renee. Anybody else got something?
From the police department. They are running a Citizens Police Academy starting on March 6th, running through May 22nd. It will take place on Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. in the community room at the police department. Topics covered include domestic violence, school violence, Illinois Vehicle Code and traffic laws, traffic crash reconstruction, SWAT team, drug enforcement, traffic stop scenarios, investigations, use of force, officer survival and safety skills, shoot, don't shoot scenarios, DUI investigations, alcohol and or drug cases, court testimony, a mock DUI trial, and much more. For more information, please contact Officer Ganger or Officer Henning at 815-838-2132, extensions 2219 or 2223 respectively.
It really is a good program. How do you become an auxiliary officer? Is that something you have to go through, or is that something separate?
It's separate. Being an auxiliary officer is separate, and then we were looking into that as well. When I had a couple more auxiliary officers, the Air Academy, typically they run maybe 2 a year. We're looking to get at least 2 more candidates in for this coming fall.
Okay.
But you don't have to go through one to be the other.
Okay, got it.
And I think our ordinance, I forget, we have like 12 or 14 or that we can allow.
That's correct.
There's a limited amount that we can have.
It's like 15, yeah.
All right, but this thing is really good. And nobody I've heard go through it has regretted it, so.
It's on Wednesdays.
All right, you can do that, Tina. You be like policewoman. You gotta do it. All right, thanks, Matt. What do you got, JR?
A little bit later in this meeting, we'll be talking about some City of Lockport road projects. I wanted to talk about another one that's not Lockport's, but it will be affecting Lockport. New Avenue was just bid by IDOT back in January. There will be work performed from Archer out a mile and .67 out to, what is it, Long Run Creek. So it's going to affect Lockport, but it's not our project, so don't complain to us, but that will be taking place. PT Faro is the low bidder on that project, will be doing the work. So I just wanted to let people know about that.
Is it a resurfacing?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. That's a tough road, man. They gotta do it like every 10 years, it seems, but, okay. Thanks, JR. Anybody else? All right. Rich Wostocki came out the other day, last Wednesday, to do his seminar on keeping your family cyber safe and really understanding just how powerful these things are in your house and when your kids have them, and that there's a lot of bad players out there, you know, in the palm of your kids' hands trying to get their brains. And generally, when you watch his seminars, you want to go smash all the phones in your house. But he gives you tools, understanding that you have to be pragmatic because you're not going to go smash all the phones in your house. But what can you do to protect your family? So if we did record it, and Rich allowing us to key it up for a year. After a year, all the apps and stuff change anyway, so he ends up doing a new seminar. But if you go to City of Lockport website, you'll find a link, or if you type it in on YouTube, you can find a link. So it's worth watching if you've never heard him speak before. So thanks for that. I see Janine is here. Are you going to give us some updates on high school?
Good evening. I'm Janine Wheeler. I am filling in as the Public Relations Director for Lockport Township High School as Jeanette Castillo's out on maternity leave. And I just want to give you an update of some of the things that are going on with the Central Campus. Since the building collapse, I'm pleased to report that our bids for the demolition for the ceilings are being finalized, and the board will vote on those on the 20th of this month. And after that time, we can right away have our forensic architects take a look at this, and then we'll know what we have to deal with. And from there, we will, put in bids for construction, and however long that would take. But we're moving along as fast as we can, but that's where we are to date. We are having ongoing tours on Wednesday evenings. Last Wednesday, we had 65 people come out to look at the school. I really encourage you to do that. Today I got a behind-the-scenes tour and saw the massive boiler room. And it's really, I recommend anyone do that. We're doing that every Wednesday at 6:30, main entrance, until the 13th of March. We are also going to have online discussions. We have 2 of those coming on. We had one of those last Monday with good participation. We have 2 more, one on February 26th and another one on March 11th at 7 p.m. So we put a lot of information on our website. The links for those will be on our website. So please go to lths.org. We just launched a new page that covers the referendum. I give you a flyer here, a handout. There's also flyers in the back that have a tax calculator and construction estimates and a lot of the frequently asked questions that we're getting from the public. Yeah. So I welcome you to look at any of that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jeanine. I know there's a lot of work.
I don't know if you're the right person to ask this question, but my wife came home from the grocery store today, and I got bombarded with a question about the high school. There's a perception that nothing is going to happen at the high school to fix any of the repairs until this referendum is passed. Is that true or false?
Well, what I would tell you is we have to take the steps of bidding, and they're moving as quickly as they can for bidding. First, we have to do the ceilings, the immediate ceiling work. But I wouldn't say nothing's getting done. It's just the whole process of bidding and construction.
Okay, sorry. I just want to go home and give my wife a good answer. Mm-hmm. So when the ceilings fell down, the big emphasis was to get the ceilings fixed and back up to get the kids back in school. Now it seems that it's kind of snowballed into we're going to do this, but then we're also could do this, and it's going to cost the taxpayers this $84 million referendum. I'm concerned that people seeing that $84 million referendum will inhibit what needs to get repaired quickly so get the kids back in school. Sorry, a lot to throw at you.
No, I understand, but a lot of it has to do with that we have to take the steps of taking the ceilings down that had been identified as needing to be reviewed. So nothing can really happen, like, the process is going as quickly as it can, but we have to get the bids because it's a school. So I would say that if the referendum passes, that might change the direction, but I think the school is moving forward with getting this work done. And it is the desire of the school to, get that building back up to occupancy as fast as possible, but we can't, there's no way anyone can guarantee any kind of timeline for that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sorry.
It's out to bid for removing the
First, we have to,
identified-
for demolition first, and then immediately we'll go into bids for construction.
Great, thanks.
But I guess the question is, when is the referendum? Was the vote April,
March 19th.
March 19th? Okay, so it's actually not that far off. Okay. I thought it was in April.
But, I mean, anyone who works in government knows the bidding process is it takes a
Sure.
long time.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the school has moved as quickly as possible on all fronts.
So the project moves on and you know the bids and so forth, but my question is, so if the referendum doesn't pass, does the district have the funds to repair that school so that it can be occupied again?
If the referendum doesn't pass.
Correct.
The school will make the repairs that it can.
Okay.
Yes, all along, the ceilings will be repaired. It's just the nature of the scope of work, whether or not the referendum
Right,
passes.
okay, sounds good. I think that's the clarification. Yeah.
Yes.
We just needed a clarification that it's going to move on,
Right.
whether or not the referendum, and, you know.
It's up to the Regional Office of Education to clear the school for occupancy, and none of that can be done until the ceilings have been remediated.
The struggle that I think you have, and Pat kind of touched on it, is the perception that this referendum came up because of the ceilings, and that is not the case at all. Absolutely not the case. You guys have been working on this for like a couple of years, and it's all about redoing HVAC systems and a whole work makeover, not about, hey, we're trying to fix ceilings for 85 minutes. Not it at all. So I think that's the struggle that you guys
You're right.
face.
These are two different issues. The referendum, discussions with the community, with stakeholders, has been going on for the last 2 years.
Yes.
Because, as we all know, the building was built in 1909. The last addition was done in 1958. There are some systems at risk of failing, and it was not perceived that the ceiling would fail, but they did. So that is a completely separate issue from repairing the ceilings. The ceilings have to be repaired. The ceilings will be repaired. So that one is not, it's not hinging on that.
Thanks, Janine. All right, me friends, we'll move on. So first thing we have is our consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So move.
Joanne,
Second.
seconded by JR. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve regular city council meeting minutes from January 17th, our committee of the whole meeting minutes from January 17th, our bills through January 30th, our payroll period ending January 21st, approving the valet services contract. It's the new company, not to exceed $100,000, Resolution 24007. There is the 6-month review of the closed executive session meeting minutes. That's Resolution 24012. And then declaring some surplus items, Resolution 24006. So again, looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
Renee, Jonathan. Okay, we'll do a roll call, please.
All right, Sheehan.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Saban.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, first thing we have is AT1. So we're looking to hold we're going to do a public hearing here. So as required by state law governing annexation agreements, the public hearing is being held to consider the Second Amendment to the annexation agreement related to the Redwood subdivision located west of Farrell Road and south of Division Street in Lockport, Illinois. So I'm going to do a motion to open the public hearing, after which we'll hear some outlines from Sunny. So I'm looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, Jonathan and Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Sunny, what do you got?
Mayor, members of the City Council, the Second Amendment to the annexation agreement concerning the Redwood development, it pertains to the extension of an impact fee that was in effect when the development was first approved, that is the 2017 impact fees. Due to some delays in completing the development, the developer, who happens to be the owner of the property, is requesting an additional 3 years from the date of recording of the amended annexation, which was back in February 9th of 2021, to have the 2017 impact fees to be in effect. So that's the only change to the annexation agreement. The public hearing for this annexation agreement was duly published in the Joliet Herald. It's required by state statute. There's the certificate of publication evidence and uploaded into Granicus. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
And anybody from the public can speak on this. It's a public hearing, so anybody got anything? All right, very good. I see Redwood's here. I have a question, so if you don't mind. So can you just give us an update on how things are going at Redwood? How far, how much have you guys built out? What do you foresee as the end game?
With Redwood, the phase one of the neighborhood has 111 homes. Currently, 100 of them have COs. 79 of them are leased up and 72 are occupied. We recently realized that our rates were a little bit below market rate, well, substantially below market. The average rent there is $24.78, and so we raised our rates accordingly to bring them more up to market. So things are moving along there. Everyone's very happy with it. It's the winter, so with the rent increase and with the winter happening, winter's traditionally a slow time for people to move out of their homes. No one likes to be hauling couches in the sleet and the ice. So that's where we are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I could ask a question real quick. Can you give, are they all two-bedroom, or are there 2 and 3 bedrooms?
No, every home has 2 beds, 2 baths, a 2-car attached garage, a 2-car driveway in front of that, and a 10-by-10 patio on the back.
Cool. And what is the rent per month now?
The average rent is $24.78 per month. That's averaged across all the homes. The smallest home is just under 1,300 square feet, and the largest home is just under 1,600 square feet.
And the current rent, like if I was to walk in tomorrow and get the biggest one, is that?
Hold on, let me look at this leasing report. I don't know that off the top of my head. And it also, it depends on, of course, it's lost in the emails.
You can follow up tomorrow, yeah, you
Yeah.
can email.
Oh, okay.
Then that's totally fine.
All right.
Yeah, just
Will
trying
do.
to get a feel for rents without going out to every apartment building in the city. Yeah, maybe
Well,
we'll.
thanks, I just trying to get an update, so thank you, Kelly, appreciate it. Okay. All right, so no public comments, then, looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, Joanne and JR, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so now I am looking to get a motion for Resolution 2411 to pass, the new annexation agreement.
So moved. Second.
What's the matter?
I say it.
Okay. Did you get that, Kathy?
I did. Jonathan and Galogly.
All right.
All right, so for the vote, Sheehan,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Galogly,
Yes.
Bergbauer,
Yes.
Deskin,
Yes.
Bartleson,
Yes?
Saban,
Yes.
and Strite.
All right, yes.
Strite, yes?
Yes.
Mayor and,
Yep, I'm gonna do a motion to approve, and then you guys can, if there's anything you want to talk about, we can. So next is, we're doing a motion to approve Resolution 24002, which is a new concept plan for Lockport Square, involving, commercial, restaurant, hotel, apartments, townhomes. So, looking for a motion.
Mayor and City Councilman, I do have, I'd like to Move to approve resolution number 24-2, approving the concept plan for proposed master plan for Lockport Square, except for and excluding the 310 apartment units proposed for Lot 13C as depicted in Exhibit A.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to amend the current
Correct.
plan? Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, so, talk to me. So what are you guys thinking? Do you want to,
So the thought is that it would, to remove the apartments at this time, because first of all, the builder is not ready for development of the apartments. And we're still undecided, I think, as councilmen, in reference to whether or not apartments are appropriate there. I think the townhomes makes more sense, and the hotel makes sense that we do need one forthcoming. So just to eliminate the apartments for this, at this time, because we do have apartments coming up across the street.
okay.
And it would also allow that large parcel, which is 10 acres, to be something possibly more commercial in the future, but whether it be 2 small restaurants and a medium store or something, but it leaves that open. And I believe Jewel is about 8 acres, so it's a pretty nice parcel of land that would still allow for some commercial once there's some residential built there, and would draw possibly a bigger ticket item.
Do you think that there needs to, if you're going to get rid of what Jim proposed a few weeks ago, so if there's a consensus for like, okay, I think townhomes should be fine, then is this the right configuration to make that work? Or does it need to be looked at differently with council feeling that townhomes are the right move here? Is it just a matter of like, everything is the right place, considering they're going to take this chunk out? Or does it have to be rethought differently with council acknowledging that they want to do townhomes?
I think that would be a good talking point to talk about exactly if this is the right layout. If that's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so in other words, if you're going to get rid of this center chunk, I guess you said that apartments don't seem appropriate, but townhomes do, then is this the right configuration for that to work? Because I think like if you just approve it with that, taking that out, does that mean there's no further discussion on how these are arranged? And is that okay, considering this was planned very specifically? Does it need to be looked at differently? I don't know. Or are we like obligated to, that's what's going to happen in the rest of the site? That layout, that plan is approved, you're just going to leave a hole in the middle.
I think that's something that we
It
can
is a-
probably discuss, right?
Yeah, it is a concept plan, so let's see another concept.
Well, actually, if the concept plan is approved by our city code, if the preliminary and final plan gets submitted by the developer that is in conformance of what has been approved, that's what meets the code. So the concept plan is, this is how it's designed. If there's like, it turns out the engineering, drain water needs to be somewhere else, that's when it gets moved. So the city council still has to approve the final plan. There are other approval processes that will be along the way, including the rezoning piece. So that type of, the details on whether or not the engineering, landscaping, and everything else is finalized will come later on when the developer submits more detailed plan, because they're going to use and utilize and hire, architects, the landscapers, the engineers for any stormwater easement rights and detention. And I think Lance could address a little bit more detail than I can, but that's just at least what the code addresses.
Yeah, I would say that the way that we have handled concept plans, whether it's Serenity Landing or Lennar's concept plan or any number of the ones that we've done, is we look at it as the general layout in the locations in which they are shown on the concept plan. If there are some small wiggles or waggles or something like that with a street, or, you know, there were comments about not wanting to look at the distribution buildings to the south, if those slightly modify, those would be the things that we would look at to be consistent with the concept plan. But if all of a sudden, you know, the townhomes start flying over in the northwest corner and the commercial gets, you know, goes from 20,000 square feet to 1,000 square feet and is hidden, those would be more significant changes to a concept plan. So we would look at it as, you know, generalized street layout, generalized approach to the layout in and of itself, the character and things like that have been presented as a part of the submittal that was given to you.
So in other words, if the hotel were, like, if the apartments aren't going to be there, and we want to take that whole boulevard and make it all commercial and move the hotel down next to the other hotel and shift these townhomes a little bit, you're saying, don't approve this. Just say, no, please come back with something different now that you have a consensus that townhomes are okay? Or are you saying that, nah, go ahead and approve this. We can move that stuff around if that seems right?
I guess what I would say is the more consistent that we can make whatever the final development plans are with the concept plan, the more consistent we are with our approach and our approvals. So I guess in that example, Mayor, I would say that, you know, moving the hotel away to the southeast corner and the commercial over to the right, or adding new commercial in a place where it might not have been otherwise, those are probably starting to get more significant changes than what is presented on the concept plan as it's drawn today. But if we were to say that, you know, let's just say the east future commercial building, you know, they want to push it closer to the sidewalk to try and create a more urban commercial environment. And I think, as I suggested at the last meeting, if the council is interested in allowing for residential to be over commercial in the C3 district as a part of this development, just to give the developer that flexibility, they could do that. That wouldn't change really the concept. That's just simply a use in the way in which the shapes are arranged in minor modifications on the plan. But larger changes like that makes it more difficult when we bring things back and they put a lot of money and effort into developing the final plans, that we want to try and stay as consistent as we can.
Well, if we're all not happy with the layout, then I don't understand why we're going to chip and chop and say, we don't want this here, we'd like to move this over here, then reject the plan and go back to the drawing board. I think there's some good things that are on here. The hotel I like, the commercial I like, the restaurant I like. I'm not a huge fan of the townhomes. Eliminating the apartment complexes is the way to go. But let's see what Genco gives us then going forward, instead of saying, well, let's move this here, let's puzzle piece this all together. And I think Lance just kind of said that too, so.
Actually,
I don't
just to
think Lance said that
clarify,
at all.
No,
clarify, the motion is to approve the concept plan as presented, as depicted in Exhibit A, except for and excluding what would be in Lot 13C. So that's the only piece that's being carved out. It's already zoned as C3, which would allow any commercial, they don't even have to come back for the concept plan to do business or commercial business that's already allowed. So it's just basically carving that out. It's not reconfiguring anything else as presented.
Right, that's what the motion is. My question is, before we say, yes, let's just make a hole there and get rid of the apartments, is then I think the general consensus of this council has been that some residential here, straight residential, not any mixed-use residential, straight residential is okay with most of the folks on this council. That's fine. I don't agree with it, but that's okay. I'm one voice. So my question then is, if the council wants to do townhomes, do we need to be careful in the sense that just carving this out means everything else that you see there is approved as is, and that if that hotel should be shifted and have more actual commercial up front, because it changes the dynamic a little bit of this entryway that you guys had going into the apartments, is that either we say, look, we're just do a straight vote down, but ask the petitioner, like, we're okay with residential townhomes, but we need to rethink this whole site. And that's, just taking that out changes the dynamic of this, and how does that really affect it? And that's not a conversation we really are, I think, we can have it now, but it seems like that's a larger conversation. Or are we just, once we approve it without that whole, it's like, that's what you can expect, even if maybe it should be reconfigured a little bit? That's my only concern.
I just want clarification of one thing. So the original said concept plan for Lockport Square master plan that includes mixed-use development of 18,000 square feet of new commercial, 3,500 square foot for restaurant, 89-room hotel, 310 luxury apartments, and 116 townhomes. Joanne's resolution is removing the 310 luxury apartments, but still designating that the developer can put 116 townhomes. So if you move the circles and dots around, we've given them, by your motion, the ability to put up to 116 townhomes in that parcel, right?
I believe that.
I would think that's kind of correct, right? I mean, basically, this motion allows for townhomes, right, in this area. If I understand, if the apartments are removed, that could be used for commercial, it could be used for future residential if it's brought back, to be determined later. I'm sure Lance would work with the petitioner about causeways and things. There may be some little tweaks if the hotel shifts or not. And Jim, I don't know if you want to come up at all or not, but I think he's looking to do townhomes in this area. I don't think he's looking to do them by the car dealer, but you know, again, like Lance said, you can tweak a few things once you've approved a concept plan, but by approving the concept plan with the motion as amended, you're allowing for townhomes to be in that southeast corner, and you're not allowing those apartments to come in and to be worked out with a site plan in the future.
But it's this, you're really approving this configuration, except for, like Lance said, maybe a building's a little forward, a little
tweaks,
back,
right.
but
Yeah.
that's the configuration.
Yeah.
You're not saying, hey, Jim, can we have a conversation about the hotel being next to the other hotel and not like front and center? Is I don't see that having an extended stay suites front and center, when we actually could do more commercial there, is necessarily the right move. But once we would approve Joanne's resolution, that's what you're getting. There is no more conversation about moving it around.
Yeah, there is no talk about, talking with Jim about rearranging that hotel. That's what you're
No,
saying?
that's still available. You can still talk about the hotel. What you can't really talk about is now moving the hotel behind where the townhomes are. By her, yeah, you can, there's still a chance to move it left where we see future commercial, those two buildings. If we think that the smarter move is to move the hotel down there, that's still something we can talk about, because that's already zoned commercial in that area, but they want to continue commercial. We can move it farther west, or to your left, whatever, if you're looking at the map. That can be done. Now, yes, we are removing the apartments. By saying that, yes, you're leaving that where I think it's a good place to have that spot empty, because if we're going to wait the 5 years, 10 years, waiting for something to come, we're not sure what it was, it might be another car dealership. I think a car dealership would want to be right next to Bentonhausen than on the other side, sitting behind the hotel or something in that area. So I think this is a very smart layout, and I think that is a proper area to leave open as commercial and to possibly, you know, develop in the future. So that's my thoughts on the plot, on the concept.
So just because I want to make sure I'm all on the same page. What JR just mentions, like, the hotel, move it a little to the left, move it a little to the right on that section. But again, if moving it with the other hotel is not. That's too big of a change for this concept plan.
Well, let me clarify that. The whole property is zoned C3 right now. So if they wanted the hotel in any position within the C3, they could move the hotel to any position in the C3. The rezoning piece to the residential component is what will lock in the location of the townhomes. Even after the townhomes are locked in with the rezoning, you could still move anything you want. The concept plan is here to show you a character, a style, a generalized layout for where they think all the pieces fit together, how all the streets fit together, how all the different uses fit together. But again, I mean, even if we scrap the concept plan entirely and they just wanted to continue developing like they have before, if anything would come in, they could parcel off something in the middle of the entire 31 acres if they wanted to build a hotel. So there is, to a degree, a zoning legal consideration, and that's where the residential component is. So once they rezone that parcel for the townhomes, that is where the townhomes would occur. And we would assume that that would either come as a part of the next phase where they would, update their annexation agreement to allow the use or to remove the restricted residential use out of it. They would bring the rezoning plat in. Obviously, it would be preferred if they could just do that one time as opposed to come back 7 times to rezone and re-subdivide everything. But that would be the approach. And then they would have a developer, just like any of our outlot developers, because they sold all of those parcels to somebody else. That developer would come through with their final development plans and then build something on that parcel that's been created or re-subdivided and rezoned. Does that make sense?
It does. I think if you approve it with the 2 apartments out, that's exactly what you're going to get. There's not going to be any more talk, because we're not asking them to do anything else. And so that if there's any wisdom in shifting it around, that conversation will be over. So.
Shifting the townhomes around would
To
certainly.
move, like, I still, because it's a commercial property, I've always felt like, can we keep much integrity of that as possible? And that would be not having, if that road going through the center there is really about, another row of commercial, instead of putting an extended stay suites where people come and they're going to be there for a week or 2, it's like it doesn't need to be front and center. I've always thought that it should be back by the other hotel, and then that opens up that space for 2 more commercial buildings. That seemed to be more logical to me for keeping the integrity of what this property is. But my concern is, once you prove with, as Joanne's presented it, that conversation's over. So.
Well, I'm ready to call the vote.
I think there's something to be said for the hotel.
I just called the vote.
Yeah, well, actually, call to vote requires a vote on the call to vote. So there's a call to vote. Is there a second to the call to vote? That would
Has
end
everybody felt like
deliberation.
they've said what they want to say before?
No, I mean, when it comes to the hotel being out there, I agree with Steve on one part. It's like, it doesn't make more sense for it to be by the interstate where folks can see it as they're driving up. But on the other hand, like, I have that grayed out commercial that I want to keep there. And you put a hotel across the street from it, now you've got more patrons going into it. So it's, I don't know, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. I mean, it's not perfect, it's a compromise, and I think I was very against it, and I don't have agita about it anymore.
Okay, well, you don't have to compromise anything.
I know.
So, it's, however you, this is a complete change of zoning in the corner.
Yeah.
And then, and we've as a council seen this happen. I remember Chris Cazzo couldn't build out the last phase of Karen Springs and said housing was never gonna come back. Housing's dead. You wanted to have an industrial building. We told him no, and lo and behold, Sagebrook is there and they sold it. I mean, markets do change and they're cyclical. So, you don't have to compromise, but, so don't feel like you do, but all right, everybody said their piece. So if we're all done,
Well, I have a question for Jim, if he could come up to the podium, please. So we're halfway, we're in between right now. So can you please clarify, are you absolutely stuck on that hotel being there and not moving the townhomes over so that the hotel be next to the Holiday Inn Express? Is there any way that you can make that happen?
Well, I think I heard both the attorney and Lance say, C3, we can put the hotel anywhere at C3. So Lance and I thought that's the right spot for the hotel for reasons that we talked about. Do you flip it with the lot next to the hotel? That makes less sense. The hotel has to be on that street. It can't be in the back because you don't want commercial traffic going through things. So you can slide it along that street a little bit, but it's not in a bad location right now, according to me. The important part, I think, that Lance also said is if you approve this with your condition, that's where the townhomes go. They can't go anywhere else.
They stay where they're at now?
Yep. The townhomes take that spot. Does that make
Jim,
sense?
I got a question. I saw that there's a dog park, but is there a park for, like, say, children?
Yeah, the townhomes will have, there's an acre in the middle of the right-hand pod there. Yeah. And they're quarter acres, and somewhere in there, you'll end up with some sort of
And that's been
kids area.
okay through the park district and
Well,
everything?
it's private, it's owned by the condo.
Yeah,
by-
we
by-
don't-
By the townhome association,
Yeah.
not a public park.
Yeah, all the, in this development, all the streets would be private, all the parks would be private, all the spaces would be private, so this wouldn't engage the park district in this component of it, nor would it engage the city as far as snow plowing and things like that.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
I have a question. I don't know if this is for Jim or not. Is, how tall is the Express Medical building? How many floors is that?
It's 3 stories.
And then how tall then is the hotel?
Existing hotel is 3 stories.
3 stories? Okay. And then what about in front of the future hotel?
The future hotel, I think we're going to be 3 stories. It could be 4 stories, given the height limits have changed for C3.
I just have one more clarification, Lance, sorry.
Sure.
In the description, it said 113 townhomes. Are we saying that's 113 is what it is, or Jim decides, we decide less to fidge things, or are we just
Yeah,
saying?
I mean, if there's a sewer pipe that gets in the way of one of the units, then obviously we can't build that unit. If we want to switch the ones to not look at the distribution buildings, that may take one away. At this level of development, there's no way that you could lock in an absolute number for townhomes. It will be somewhere within 105 to maybe 120, but that'll all depend on the final layout, the final product chosen, the setbacks, the drive widths, the sewer lanes, the water alignments, all that kind of stuff will.
Is that what you're asking though, Pat? Is it like, will there be exactly 116, or are you thinking like, do you take a whole block of these out? Like,
I was just saying, if the motion says we're approving 113 townhomes, thank you, Renee. I don't have my binder open. If it fluctuates one way or the other, and the other thing, I believe there's a revision 2 of this drawing floating around that has the properties looking at the warehousing kind of moved out of the way, so that takes away your concern earlier about looking out your front window and seeing the warehousing. So Jim was aware of that, thought maybe that might come up, so he's already taken plans to maybe remedy that. So as long as we have some, a little bit of flexibility in terms of,
Yeah, I mean, if members of the council or plan commission have, thoughts on, boy, this street, if it could move over 20 feet, or, boy, if the view of the distribution buildings is something that you're concerned about, you can share all of that stuff with me, and I can certainly communicate that to Jim.
Okay. Well, all right, let me just say it this way then.
We've
I know, man, because if
Well,
it's
wait a
a matter
minute,
of...
wait a minute. We've beaten this to death,
Yeah, and it's important.
and we're doing whatabouts. It's a concept plan, it's a concept plan, it's a concept plan, it's a concept plan. Okay, it's not a final plan, it's not a preliminary plan, it's not a final build-out. We're not cutting a ribbon tomorrow. What he's asking for, and what the motion is to approve townhomes in this area. All the questions about the number of townhomes, where they're facing, that's not what this is about.
That's what I'm trying to clarify,
Well,
though.
you have clarified it to the point where you have confused everybody.
I don't think
It's
so.
time to vote.
But Darren, I don't think...
You
having
don't
a
want us to vote on
conversation-
it, I get it.
We're
I
gonna-
understand.
We're going to vote on it. I've already conceded that.
Okay, let's
the-
vote on
The
it.
majority of folks want to do townhomes, and that's
Then
okay.
let's just vote on it.
Because my concern was that...
We
if you
understand your
if
concern.
Approve...
It's time to
The way the
vote.
townhomes are, I don't think you were correct, Darren, about like, oh, we'll be able to, these townhomes, it's 116, they can move around. I want to make sure that we have those flexibilities. Because a lot of times, once you do a concept plan, you start to, put the city in a position where we've agreed to something, and to make, be concerned about how things are facing or changing is, you start getting locked in. And so, those are things I just want to clarify to make sure that's the case. When, 4 weeks ago, whatever, I said the same thing. I'm like, can we look at reconfiguring this a little bit? Jim was adamant, no. And so, if we're thinking that like, oh, don't worry about it, this is just concept, man, things are gonna be moving around. I want to feel that this council has that ability to do that, or are we just straight up locked into exactly what you see? And if we are, I just want everybody to understand that that's what you're locked into. So, know what you're getting into. And with that the case, absolutely, we're going to vote on this, Darren. So, if nobody else has anything else, then please, call the vote.
You got it. Sheehan?
No.
Pugh?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Galogly?
Yes.
Bergbauer?
Yes.
Deskin?
Yes.
Bartleson?
Yes?
And Saban?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next on the agenda, we've got, looking for a motion to approve Resolution 24009, Roadway Reconstruction and Water Main Replacement Award. Anybody else?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Christina.
Mayor, I need to abstain. I'm looking for the deliberation and the vote. I'm looking to sell material on this job.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Saban.
Thank you.
Is it too late to ask when this project might be completed?
No, of course not. This is the time to ask.
No, I just didn't have to jump out early. You can
Oh, okay. Just from the perspective of the schools, the school there and, two schools there, do you think it'll be wrapping up before the school year starts?
It will be, the majority will be absolutely wrapped up before school starts. I mean, that's always our intention.
Yeah.
We're actually taking advantage of the central campus being down right now to really try and do as much as we possibly can around there.
Cool.
But yes, it will be overwhelmingly complete by, August.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep.
Anything else? Then we'll do a roll call, please.
You got it. Sheehan?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Bergbauer?
Yes.
Deskin?
Yes.
Bartleson?
Yes?
Saban?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we're looking for approval for, this is actually just information, sorry. Give us an update on the channelization. What's going on, Brent?
This is the Illinois Route 7 9th Street Channelization Project. This project has been underway since 2018, I believe, was our first first concept. We have STP grant funding to take care of some of this project. This project will be basically taking our 2-lane existing section on Illinois Route 7 and turning it into a 3-lane section. So you'll have a bidirectional turn lane that will provide much safer travel. It'll allow traffic to get out of those left turn situations, wait until there's a safe time to make that turn. It'll allow the traffic to continue to flow in each direction. It'll be a significantly improved project. It'll also update some storm sewer, it'll update some water main, so utilities will also be improved throughout this project. The project did have 4 bidders. The lowest was Austin Tyler, just under $10.5 million. That was right at our budget, so that's a positive. We are receiving, like I said, STU grant funding in the amount of $3.7 million. Illinois, the state of Illinois, has provided another 1.2. That includes a culvert replacement in addition to resurfacing. Last year, this section would have been resurfaced had we not had this project going this year. So by removing that last year, we're able to get about $900,000 in funding for this year's project. The total that the city will be responsible for is about $5.5 million. Again, this overall project is a great project. The duration will be over 2 seasons, so that's the fun part. Basically, half of it will be constructed. Traffic will be on the other half while the east half is constructed. As soon as the east half is completed, traffic will move over to the east half, and the west half will be constructed. And so there will be 2 lanes the entire time, but it will be an impact to motorists, and it will be, like I said, a 2-year time frame. So we're hoping by the end of 2020, not hoping, it will be completed by the end of 2025.
It's July of '25 is the completion date.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Thanks for that, Brent. So next, we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 24018, change order of the Old 9th Street Quiet Zone project. Maybe any questions on this one?
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry. Do you have anybody up to speed? Any further questions? Then we'll do a roll call.
All right, roll call, Sheehan.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Saban.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Anything for new business? Then we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Kathy, whenever you're ready, you do the motion for committee of the whole, whenever you're ready.
Okay, roll call, Sheehan.
Here.
Hugh.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here?
Saban. All right, we have a quorum.
All right. So first thing on the agenda is a text amendment to Chapter 156 of the Lockport Code of Ordinances. Lay it on us.
This is a very exciting text amendment that we're going to put into the zoning code related to having something that specifically identifies gazebos and pergolas. We do get a lot of requests for gazebos and pergolas, and we don't have that word in our code. And so this helps us establish the same setback that other structures would have from a home, so that we can apply that when we do get those permit submittals.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Go figure. So how does that pertain to people who already have gazebos and
Has nothing to do with already existing. This
existing
is-
stays the same,
Yeah.
anything new applies?
Right. This is just somebody that comes into the
Perfect.
building department and submits for a gazebo or a pergola.
Had me worried there.
If one is damaged in a fire, they would have to meet the new code? If somebody has to replace one, they have to meet the new code, whatever?
Well, it depends on what was damaged and what percentage of the damage occurred.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If somebody has to make some repairs, do they have to, or?
Not for repairs. If the whole thing burns down
Yeah.
all at once, then there would need to be some modifications that would likely be made. This really doesn't change anything
Yeah.
as far as how we evaluate it. We just didn't have the terms gazebo and pergola in the code to be able to evaluate, and it was
Okay.
impacting, because we were having people putting gazebos a foot off their pool edge, and that was causing some safety challenges because we couldn't regulate it any other way.
Well, all right, so everybody good with consent on that change? Okay. All right, what else you got?
This next one is related to Resolution 24013. Ted Carnes, on behalf of the Boy Scouts of America, is the owner and occupant of the building at 921 South State Street. They are requesting funds through the city's facade and site improvement grant program for the replacement on the cupola, on top of the building, the rotted rafter and the sheathing and the metal support frame. The applicant received a COA from H&A on January 16, 2024. They did receive 2 bids for the replacement. The 2024 budget amount for the facade and site improvement grant reimbursement program is $150,000. Since this request is the first one of this year, we have not dispersed any or approved any of that. So with the $87.25 proposed for this project, it would be 6% of the total. We recommend approval of the facade grant request in the amount of $87.25.
Questions, concerns, grapes? All right, consent? All right, next we get fire alarm grant.
This last one is related to Resolution 24014. The applicant Cesar Cirillo of Villanova Pizza and the building located at 944 North through 946 North State Street is requesting funds through the city's fire alarm and sprinkler grant program to install a new fire alarm and sprinkler system consisting of the panel, smoke detectors, audiovisual devices, pull stations, and the outdoor strobe device. They did receive 3 bids for both the fire alarm system and the fire sprinkler system. We allow for a 50% match for a maximum of $20,000 for both the sprinkler and the fire alarm. It's $15,000 for the sprinkler, $5,000 for the fire alarm. Due to the applicant occupying both parcels and there are 2 separate pins, he is asking for $35,000 as a reimbursement, the $5,000 allocated to the fire alarm system installation, and $30,000 for the fire sprinkler system. The 2024 budget amount for the fire alarm and sprinkler grant system is $65,000. This would represent 54% of that amount. And again, we recommend approval of the requested assistance in the amount of $35,000, and again, related to Resolution 24014.
All right, questions, concerns, thoughts?
With Caesar being here, I'm wondering if you could come up and tell us what's going to be going into that building. Like, what's it going to look like? I want your vision. I want to see what you can tell me.
Well, first of all, it's going to be a restaurant. No doubt. And I want to thank the city of Lockport for giving us this opportunity and possibly getting a grant. We're trying to clean it up. Obviously, it's been an eyesore in the community for a while, that whole plaza. Montessori coming in next to us. Wings was taken over by Anthony. I'm not familiar with his last name, but we're hoping to redevelop that whole area. We still have some concerns on the parking lot issue. You know, that's one of our major concerns. Is outside of that, I think it's going to bring value to the community and end up bringing, get rid of that eyesore in a sense, and it's a beautification for the area.
This will be an enlargement of his existing restaurant that they have in the Marino Plaza. Moving north, the The parcelization of that whole plaza is very challenging. For whatever reason, when it was developed, all the parcels are very narrow parcels that go from North State all the way back to the building. And so the reason why he's at 2 addresses is couldn't fit the restaurant in just the one little slot. So if you remember where the Lockport Resource Center used to be, that was one of the parcels, and then there was a parcel adjacent to it that Barrett actually owned for their office building, or the office portion of their retail building. And then the further north one is the Barrett's building, and then the one south is the Wings Dance Studio, where they are. So that is kind of the first phase. We're hoping that Lupine Montessori, who has purchased the Barrett building, will be coming forward soon with their building plans. They will likely also request fire sprinkler grant and alarms. And just as a reminder, this is the reason why we put in the water line for this plaza, is so that folks who want to redevelop this portion of the plaza can, because neither of these would be able to move forward without that water line being installed. So that's already kick-started everything to be able to move forward and allow people to occupy that space and really clean up what is otherwise a very depressed commercial center.
All right, any other thoughts, questions?
It's been very challenging, to say the least.
No, man, we appreciate your investing in it, man, we really do. So if we can help with fire alarm grants, that's great. We go with consent? All right, PW1, Chamlin and Associates. What's going on, Brent?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, a couple items on the agenda for your consideration. First is for the HOA stormwater management facility investigations. We started these last year. We started in Cedar Ridge, Prime, and Creekside. Throughout the city, as you know, there are stormwater facilities in every subdivision that was constructed, I'd say after, probably the 80s is when you can consistently see them. So all of those storm structures or storm facilities, they need maintenance. They need long-term maintenance. They need to be cleaned. They need treatments along the edges of these facilities. They need the pipes to be cleaned. They may need grates to be replaced. And what happens over time is these storm water management facilities, they become less maintained. And with that, they don't function as well. They impact upstream, downstream properties. So essentially what we have in the city is we have one large stormwater management facility. The entire city works together. If the downstream detention pond doesn't work, it impacts the upstream. If the upstream doesn't work, it impacts the upstream to another facility. And so what we have started doing is looking into these to make sure that they are functioning and operating. We've received some phone calls from some concerned HOAs. We've gone out and we've done some investigations, and there are some that need some maintenance. So we want to get a better handle on that. We want to understand exactly what needs to be done. We want to have a better handle on looking forward. Is there a role for the city to take a larger presence in these maintenance items? Is that something we'd like to consider in the future? And so before we can do that, we need to understand really where we stand, what the problems are, and what the overall costs or projects would look like. And so what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to investigate each individual pond. We'll have a report. We'll have an understanding of the pipes that come into the pond, and then the pipes that lead out of the pond. We'll have which is very important. The restrictors will be photographed. The restrictors are what allow us to restrict and hold back water. Those over time that deteriorate depending upon the type of metal, steel that they're created from, and so we'll have those on the books. But again, we'll have an overall report that tells us what we're looking at as a city. So with the completion of this proposed facility investigation, we would have every pond that is HOA owned done. So at the end of 2024, we'll have a full report, and we'll be able to evaluate what the impacts are across the city. This evening, I'd ask for council's consideration to move forward with Chamlin. This would be in the amount of $28,000. See where I'm here.
750.
750, sorry, 28,750. This would be resolution number 24-015, and are asking for council to consider accepting this proposal and moving forward with the HOA stormwater management facility investigation.
Questions, concerns, comments?
I just have a comment. I really encourage Brent to look into this with Chamlin after our experience with the Maple, I get them mixed up, Maple Hill with the creek problem. This was something that, I think will help us refine the CIP going forward. There'll be additional stormwater projects that will probably come out of this investigation. So I think it's great. I think we need to do it. It wasn't something that we budgeted for this year, but with all the other project savings, we'll be able to afford to do it. As long as you have the consent that we'll do a little mini budget amendment that we do at the end of every year for anything we didn't quite plan ahead for. But this is something we've talked about and should have brought to you sooner, but I don't want to lose another season. Let's move forward with it and investigate it, and then we'll be able to ratify the CIP going forward for some better priorities when it comes to stormwater.
Yeah. It's important to note, too, that these HOAs are clueless.
Yeah.
Just about on how to maintain these, and they are really crucial.
It's becoming more of a burden on the city, and that's okay as long as the council's, supporting staff and to help go to those meetings and educate and inform. And we're hopeful that as we start to make some corrections, we can educate them and they'll take better care of them so that they're not in this situation again in 30 years. So it's something the city's never done before.
Right, and I think they literally don't know.
overdue.
It's not that they're ignoring them or anything. They just have no clue that they require maintenance.
It's why we forgot that aliens actually built the pyramids, right? Time goes on, everybody forgets. So, yeah, that's important that staff continues to have a scheduled times with HOAs. So, okay, so we're good with consent on that. All right, what's next?
Next item, PW-2. This is in regards to our Phase 2 engineering for the intersection of Illinois 171 and New Avenue. Phase 1 has been approved, and we're asking for council to consider moving forward with the Phase 2, which is the actual design. This brings our plans to a point where they can be bid. Also, it brings us to a point where we can request funding and get a lot more points. So Phase 1, you get a certain portion of points. Phase 2, you get the remaining points for the design. So it puts us in a much better scenario to approach Will County Governmental League and ask for those funds. This evening, we'd be asking for council's consideration to move forward with the resolution to award V3 companies in the amount of $249,765 for the roadway intersection improvements, resolution number 24-016, and asking for consent to move forward with this project.
Any questions on this one?
They building a roundabout?
No.
It is not.
No?
We had
We went through that.
kicked that around.
We did once.
Yeah.
Too much
there's not enough room
too
for
much
it?
right away. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Kind of put a curve on it, so it's speed.
All right, so if we're good with that, you guys okay with consent? Everybody okay with consent on that? Okay. All right, PW3. What do you got?
Last item is the MFT funds. So annually, we have to appropriate our MFT funds for maintenance. So what IDOT allows us to do is kind of lump in anything that's a maintenance function. Maintenance function for us, for the city of Lockport, is the purchase of road salt and our yearly crack filling and then our yearly pavement marking. So we would be asking for council to consider appropriating the funds, as we have in the past, MFT dollars to complete our maintenance operations for 2024. This would be in the amount, the total amount is $350,812. Asking for council to move forward with the IDOT resolution number 24-017, appropriating IDOT MFT funds for our annual maintenance projects.
All right, everybody clear? Any questions?
I have a question about crack sealing. I've done a really amateur cursory review of the streets after the sub-zero weather, and I've seen a lot more cracks than after the freeze than before. So, have you all been out looking at these yet? The roads are in really bad shape, just after 5 days.
Glad you say that. Yes, we do need more funds, and this is one thing that we're working on with our CIP. But in all honesty, I notice it much more after we get the cold spells. But what that is because the asphalt is shrinking, and in the warmer weather, it expands and it fills those cracks. So it's always going to look worse this time of year. But yes, I notice it as well.
All right, you guys okay with consent on this item?
I've got a question for Brent, too. When they're doing patching, when it's as cold as it was, and then we do get rain, the ground's still frozen, and it's gonna freeze the water that goes into those potholes and stuff, and it'll screw them up again, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to, like, the temperature doesn't have to go back down if the ground is really cold.
The pothole patching that we've been doing is weeks or maybe months maintenance. The full patching that we go out with our resurfacing annually, and we do real patching.
Like where you're cutting out.
Yeah, where we cut. So anything that we're doing right now, we're just simply trying to eliminate any
Tires from getting
potholes
popped.
and yes, in the immediate, yeah.
All right, no other questions? You guys okay with the consent? All right, then. All right, last chance for new business. Anybody got anything? Then we'll look for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All right, it was, man, I heard kind of two. I think I got Jonathan out of that, and who else? And okay, and Joanne. So all in favor?
Aye.